Hi everybody, my name is Liliia. I'm leading QA in Kotlin and the entire open source ecosystem department, which Kotlin belongs to, and we'll talk about it a bit later. So, let's go straight to the point. What is the current state, what I'm talking about at all when I'm talking about Kotlin QA? Right now we have 35 people, and we are spread over 8 locations. And also we have 6 QA leads and 2 test leads among them. We are split into 3 sub-teams: the exploratory, automation, and performance. And we are taking care of not only Kotlin as a language or compiler. We have quite a bigger area of responsibility, and we will talk about it. So here is what our structure looks like. It is a structure of Kotlin QA, just this, and it is already simplified. So, and here is a communication flow scheme in our teams, in our QA teams. So it's no brainer why recently I got this question at a huge gathering of our QA sub-team. Why do we have such a complex structure? So indeed, why? We are QAs here. Who is a QA here? Oh, yeah, cool. Then you are familiar with this approach. Let's look into the root cause of this. So I live in France right now, and that's why I brought something French to you. There is a principle by a French chemist, Le Chatelier, and essentially it states that every system reacts on the external environment, and it may become more complex, for example, as a response to the environment. In our case, in our context, we have a system which is Kotlin and Kotlin ecosystem QA, and we also have the environment, the Kotlin team evolution, and the processes which were affecting it. So let's look into this, because of course QA doesn't exist as an abstract team. We all work with some development. Right. To help us a little bit in this journey, we have this timeline. So first, we will look into the beginning of Kotlin, where we all start from. Then we have, of course, active growth of Kotlin as a team. And also, only after that, we have Kotlin QA team creation and catching up, and then our days. So, long time ago, we had the first commit into Kotlin repository. It happened in 2010. 6 years later, we had the first stable release, Kotlin 1.0. Who of you believes that we had at least one QA there by that time? So we are pessimists here, right? Then actually we had one. They joined us a year before the stable release. And the thing is, by that time, they have joined us more like a cat would do. So this person was already working in JetBrains for 9 years. They were testing IDEA. And Kotlin support, as you may know, is also made in IDEA. So you can call it in IDEA. He was just naturally interested in Kotlin. What is it? How it works in IDEA, and he was also careful about our quality as general as a product. So he started testing Kotlin support in IDEA, reporting some bugs, and eventually the team just accepted him. That's it. Right, and by the time we had a team of 28 people working on Kotlin, mostly developers. So it's kind of disbalanced. Let's look into the context scope then. Was it that disbalanced? And here we come to the scope of Kotlin QA. It will greatly grow. And I like to approach it from this perspective. So when you are writing some application or some, let's say, website, who is writing some code here? Okay, so half of you at least will get this, and I promise you it's quite simple. So even if you are not writing code, you will get this as well. So when you are writing some application, of course you need a language. Any programming language would do, but in our case it's Kotlin. It's core. But the only language, it's not enough. You need something, some magic thing that would translate this code, which you can write and read, into the machine-readable code. This is a compiler. By Kotlin 1.0, we had a compiler that is able to translate into JVM or JS. So then we need also a build system, because if you have a complex enough, sophisticated enough application or website or anything else, you need to specify some stages or maybe exclude some artifacts or have a debug and release flavor of your build. So it's a necessary thing. And of course, we are not writing our code in a notepad or Vim, usually. We use IDE. So we had IDE support by Kotlin 1.0 IntelliJ so far. Right, and this is our scope. By Kotlin 1.0, we were taking care of just half of it, the lower half. And it was called tooling. So tooling is our build system support and IDE support. And if we would just highlight the number of developers engaged in tooling support, this would be 9. But I will also give you the overall number of developers by that time. I will talk about it later. Right, next stage. Kotlin 1.0 has been released, and it becomes really popular. It grows really rapidly. So the very same year we've released Kotlin 1.0, we have started development of Kotlin native. This is another technology. We call it backend. So we have JVM backend, we can compile there. We have JS backend, we can compile there. And we have started development of native. Native allows us to compile Kotlin code into, for example, a code which can be run on iOS or macOS. So it essentially widens our target audience. And by the time we had 31 people, then also another important part, our ecosystem has started. We have got our first commit of our huge nowadays library, Kotlin X coroutines. And then the second QA joins Kotlin. So the team size is 35 people, still mostly developers, and we have 2 QAs. We're still taking care of just tooling. We've got also native on our map moving forward. We also have ecosystem part now in our general picture. So by the end of 2016, we have 2 QAs, 5 developers in tooling part, and 30 overall. Then we have also got an idea of Kotlin multi-platform. And this is important because this is our main technology right now. This is our future. We believe that this is our future because this allows you to write Kotlin code and share a part of it among several targets, like, for example, among Android and iOS, and then specify platform parts which would be unique for those targets. It's essentially how saves you code effort, bugs effort as well. So it is huge. And the first design looked like this back in 2016. And then a year later, boom, we have Android support. Generally, we've got Google support. And Google announced us as a supported language for their platform, because Android is running on JVM. We already have JVM. We have beautiful language. People like it. So the third QA joins Kotlin because we are growing our popularity, and that is me. Yeah, I joined Kotlin 7 years ago. 2 weeks later, another colleague joined. So we've got QA team now. We are 4 QAs, and the overall size of Kotlin team 49 people. And here we come. This is how Kotlin QA team was created. Right, so by the end of that 2017, we had Kotlin QA as a matrix team. What does it mean? So we have a developers team, and by the time it was still one huge Kotlin team with some small parts, and we would even have a united stand-up. I think it was daily. So we would daily come to a single room and tell each other what we are doing today. That was fun. And also, this concept of having a matrix team was back then more about the concept of the concept. So our team lead believed that this is the only possible way, because only QA can understand QA, only QA can lead QA for a better future. And we also did a bit of support back then. We would follow and read all the incoming issues from our users. And Kotlin always had an open tracker. So back then it would be like 20 issues per day. Now it's a lot more. And yeah, we were still taking care of tuning part. But we had also a separate software development developer and test in Kotlin native team, because why not? We have Kotlin QA and we have separate that, just because back then we had a startup like Smear in Kotlin, and every sub-team would be free to do whatever they believe they can do for their success. So that's it. Checking our context, still we are taking care of tuning part. We have added Android Studio in our IDE support. So now it's also IDE plugin for Android Studio. And we have 4 QAs against 14 developers, but 48 overall. Now, why do I keep saying that? Because this scheme has a sphere shape for a reason. Every change which happens in the core, in the language, affects the outer layers. So if we have no new feature, we would need to support it in the compiler. We would need to support it in the build tuning, because you somehow need to enable it when it's fresh. You also require an IDE support, a proper highlighting, or a proper refactoring support, so you wouldn't break your code when you are renaming something or moving some property into the class where it shouldn't be, something like that. So even though we are taking care of just tuning part, we are actually affected by the work of all the other developers. And we did testing of language features in this way. And we would also discover some language features bugs in the compiler as well from time to time. So next year. This year was more about stabilizing things. We've got a lot in 2016. So this is also where Kotlin 2.0 journey has begun. And it would end several years later, but that was about let's write compiler now in a proper way. So also we've got finally separate support team because the number of tickets would grow. We are still monitoring all the incoming tickets because you got to make sure what is going on in your product. And we've got a bit of structuring in our team. So Kotlin team as a huge team matures. Now we have separate compiler teams for the front end, for the back ends. We have build tooling team, IDE support team, and Kotlin libraries team. You can guess that we were still a bit separate. Matrix team working just with mostly IDE and build tooling. We were all sitting in the same office, so we would come to each other, that's fine. But generally, we were a bit separated. And yeah, this trend has gone viral. So we have separate Kotlin QA team. We still have that in Kotlin native team. And to make the spoiler, he will remain there almost till the end of our talk today. And we've also got a separate performance engineer in Kotlin native because why not? They have their own atmosphere there. And we also we've got QA in language specification who would work with the very first part of our, very core part of our sphere, the language design. A bit of update on our scheme. So we have got front end there to take care of, but we didn't. We have 5 QAs, 16 developers engaged in tooling, and 63 developers overall. Moving forward, 2019, not the best year for some of us. So Kotlin multi-platform team became a separate group of people. What does it mean? This was revolution because before we would have separate teams focused on specific parts of our toolchain. So we have compiler separately, IDE separately, build tooling separately. But when you are a developer, you don't care of those specific parts. You are using the entire technology. And that was alike. We have Kotlin multi-platform, which is baked by language support, expect actual keyboards. We have also a support in build tooling because you configure your projects in a very different way from a simple JVM one. You have special IDE support because the rules there are very different, not very, but different. So that was revolutionary and was kind of inconsistent with the overall organizational structure of Kotlin, but still. We've got first automation QA. So before, we were all the exploratory QAs. We were writing code, but to test some tooling support. Now we've got our lifesaver because he has automated our acceptance testing that we would do every Kotlin release. And it would take us like a day because we had so many ideas. We would need to test several ideas to make sure that everything still works. And yeah, still a couple of separate folks in Kotlin native team, plus front-end team got their own QA. And we also got a bit of addition in our ecosystem part, still 5 exploratory QAs, 1 automation, 84 people overall, developers overall. 2020, this was a turnout. But first, what has happened? We have one more addition in our ecosystem. Now we have a UI framework, which has the very same idea of Kotlin multi-platform. We can share now UI among several platforms or write some specific things for those platforms. All right, we also got another team, Midland, also about compilers. Now it's more closer to the actual compiler theory. And well, front-end was okay, compiler front-end was okay, language specification also. And yeah, Kotlin native is on their own way. And right, here is an update of our context. Still taking care of ecosystem and of tooling, also a bit of ecosystem and compiler language outside. To be frank, it was more like this, because we were not testing compose multi-platform and other things. We were only testing Docker. 5 exploratory QAs, 3 automation QAs. Right, but I said that was pilot year. We were releasing something, and quite regularly. So in 2020, the releases would look like a simultaneous release of so many parts. First of all, of course, every time you've got to release a compiler. But it was of 2 parts, JVM and JS, 1 part, and Kotlin native a separate part, because they have their own way. Then we have Gradle and Maven plugins. Then we have libraries, because libraries that we were developing should be built with new Kotlin that released freshly. IDE support, of course. And so many other things like Kotlin Playground, for example. You can go online, and now you can run some simple code with recent version of Kotlin. So we had to release all those things simultaneously. So when our users get their updates, they can use the entire toolchain in their projects. And that kind of worked. We've tried several approaches, and we ended up with just the duty of a developer and QA. But the Kotlin was growing. So many moving parts were growing. So this happened. This is our souvenir t-shirt of our team. The first date and the last dates are real. So we were planning our release in March 2020, but we ended up with a release in August 2020. Something was wrong. We had a lot of fun back then with the Kotlin development lead and myself. It was a full-time job, aligning all the moving parts. We did it, but then we have created a release team. Now we've got relief, because we've got our time back from the releases. That's probably why I had this question. So one day, at the end of 2020, I came to Kotlin development lead and asked him, so why do we need QA in Kotlin? The answer was, you tell me. Interesting, I thought, so that's a cool challenge. I kept asking this question to every team lead in Kotlin. I also asked them, what is quality? And how do you feel about quality in Kotlin? How do you measure quality? Those conversations were really insightful, really interesting. And I also had made several interviews of our QAs as well, and some other involved folks. And as a result, we come to the next stage. I have created Kotlin QA strategy, because I've got so many requests for QA, so many pain points about quality, so many requirements and future visions. So it has built up into the Kotlin strategy, Kotlin QA strategy. And we have realized that in order to implement it, I had to become team lead of QA. That's how I became QA lead in Kotlin. And this caused us a bit of restructuring. Now we had a separate automation team led by a separate person, and exploratory QA led by me, myself. Kotlin native was still aside. And we were doing many things to catch up our processes. So for example, we were still monitoring all the incoming issues in Kotlin. And I, as a QA lead, was overwhelmed with that number. It was so many tickets every day. But I got to keep track on this so that I can distribute the tasks later on and so on. So one of these optimizations I did, I have defined the areas of responsibility for each QA and asked them to track the tickets in their area of responsibility. Therefore, I could level up and track overall picture instead of tracking all the specific details. And yeah, we have started catching up. So another thing aside of our QA world, we have got Kotlin multi-platform mobile plugin and a separate team for them. And checking up on our sphere. Still, we've got way more QAs, as you can tell. Now it's 9 exploratory QAs, 3 automation, and still about 84 developers. Then 2022 has happened, and we all know what has happened there. So JetBrains left Russia, and we've got to be spread along 6 locations. Before, we were just me living in Munich, already back then, and my folks living in St. Petersburg, and that was way easier, but now we've got new challenges. So we also lost a performance engineer in Kotlin Native, and on the other side, we've got IntelliJ Kotlin plugin moving to another department, but their QA still left in ours. So it was still Kotlin QA and tuning part. And we did a lot to bond with developer teams, because one of the requests for QA was the quality management. Quality was unmanageable. And quality management requires also some interaction with developers, of course. And before we were like QA and developers, now we got to get closer and work together. So the QAs would come to specific teams and work as a part of those teams, while still remaining a separate QA team to exchange experience. And it did a lot of things for that. We were also making higher, improving transparency, because some people would not know what exactly Kotlin QA does in our Kotlin team. And this is one of the things that I have done. It was a famous long read for 22 minutes about our daily life. And it was quite insightful for the folks who could make it, but not everybody could. And I did a lot of other things. So yeah, still we've got this deviation. And we have also got a separate automation QA for Kotlin multi-platform, just because, again, we were free to experiment. Another thing that had, it was a first huge step towards the influence of development processes, was regression handling guide. So to improve stability, we have started with regressions, and we have set specific rules to handle regressions in timely manner, and fixing those in time in the next release, and so on and so forth. And we have even delayed a release for several months, because folks couldn't manage to to take care of all the regressions backlog back then before the deadline. And finally, we were expanding our area of responsibility in our context sphere. So here is version of 2021, the last year, and you can tell that this is a bit disbalanced. So in 2022, the difference is that we were taking care of the upper part here. So we already got a compiler QA on the compiler frontend. We were taking care of ID, root system, and a bit of ecosystem. And we've got 10 exploratory QAs, still a bit of like 84 developers. Okay. So over 2023, we had a lot of changes and we've hired a lot. So first of all, remember that Kotlin 2.0, which has started in 2018. Now it got into the final stabilization stage. We were actively stabilizing it, and to give you a taste, it's like we have rewritten a half of our compiler, and our language is stable, our releases are stable, and now we want our users to update to this new version of compiler without noticing anything. Like, it should work just as good as before or better. This is huge because you're rewriting a huge part of your logic. We were involved a lot, and this is what expanded our area of responsibility, for example, for automation QA. Now they were taking care not only of tooling, but also they have set up like 50 user projects on the CI to run with every Kotlin build. And I believe Arthur maybe will shed a bit more light into those specific details. And we are moving forward. So we've got, again, separate team now for Kotlin multi-platforms. There were some mutations of Kotlin multi-platform teams here and there. And we've hired some QAs now to balance it straight ahead. We have also launched a specific initiative in Kotlin called Kotlin Moonshots, which is a risky bet on ambitious projects which may or may not work out, and they got their own QA. Another thing is that we've hired compiler front-end QAs, we've hired Kotlin native QA, and we've got a beautiful presentation by them in our meetup in Berlin. And also compose multi-platform QA, but again, in the separate department. So you notice this scenario. We are, again, we have core Kotlin, which we are taking care of, then a separate team, but at least we have a QA there. And we've hired more automation QAs. Kotlin team got restructured because by the time we grew a lot in Kotlin, of course, as well. And therefore, we have restructured QA to better reflect this Kotlin structure, because now we were bound to the development teams. We were working close, and that was important to follow this pattern. So let's check out. Finally, we are taking care of the entire scope. And we have 15 explorator QAs against 6 automation QAs and about 140 developers. We've got fleet on our plate as additional ID, and well, the entire ecosystem with Kotlin. And we had this another department thing. But actually, in the end of 2023, we have created this new department called Open Source Ecosystem Department, and Kotlin has become a part of it, as well as those separate teams. Still, their QAs will be separate, and Kotlin QA will be separate. And now we are coming to the final stage and the new era. So 2024, the first significant part is that we've got the third part of our Kotlin QA, performance. And now we have 2 engineers for a department of 225 people. But those engineers are really good. They are servicing the department, and they are sharing their expertise, setting up key things, but leaving all the implementation work mostly to our developers. So we've also got Kotlin QA United. So now we are the only team for the entire open source ecosystem department. There are no more separate teams, separate QAs. We are still following this concept that QA understands QA the best way, so QA can grow QA, so on and so forth. And yeah, a bit of numbers. As I told you at the beginning, 35 people, 26 exploratory QAs, 7 automation, 2 performance QAs, and automation team and performance QAs team is led by Arthur, who will be speaking a bit later today. Overall, we have 225 people. Now it's way less percent of the developers, because there are so many other things which are important to be done, not by developers. And now we are transitioning also into the new era of operating, because before we were first taking care of some specific part, then we spread our responsibility to the entire system, but we were catching up. And now we've got to make this quality of equality. But this is another story. So checking on our sphere. We are really familiar with that. And let's go back to the very beginning. I have shown you this communication scheme. This is just a segment of this sphere. So if you cut it through, you would have language evolution, which is Kotlin language, at the very bottom or at the core of the sphere. Then you have compiler on the top of that. Then you have build tooling, IDEs, and ecosystem on the top. This is just it, but split by the 3 teams, exploratory automation, performance, because those are different people, and we are also reflecting some responsibility zones there. That's it. So let's recap what we have learned today. So we have justified our complexity with the entire Kotlin history. And we now know that Kotlin QA takes care not of only the language or compiler, but the way bigger thing. It takes time to implement some changes, and to be frank with you, for example, strategy, it didn't come smooth. Like I came to developers and said, all right, folks, now we are working in a very different way. Our processes are not that good. They were not excited, but we have managed to work through this. And yeah, it took a couple of years to actually implement each part. And the matrix model proved to be effective for our case, because we have many sub-teams right now taking care of language, compiler, build tooling, so on, so forth. But we are also sharing our expertise inside. And those components, they are very connected. And that's why the matrix team, where we are sharing context but working close with developers, works perfectly for us. That's it. And you can find me on LinkedIn and ask your questions if we will not have time right now or you are tired. So thank you.